Good evening, everyone. Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Shutt here for this edition of Nate at 8 on this Thursday evening. And boy, what a dreary, wet, and almost chilly day across the Ohio Valley, especially for this time of the year. Not accustomed to dealing with temperatures this cool as we wrap up May. Typically, those highs are into the 70s, but nowhere near that today. Thanks so much for joining in. Let's jump into some things we're going to be tracking for this edition of Nate at 8. The rain tapering off overnight, so thankfully coming to an end. The end is in sight for the overnight hours. It's a gradual process, though, so we're still dealing with some here early on tonight, but later tonight then will likely dry up. Now, while we will likely start off Friday into early Friday morning dry, we'll be watching for a few showers returning throughout the day Friday. Does look like the emphasis will be in the afternoon. And then, of course, the big question, what about Memorial Day weekend, right? More rain, more clouds, sun. We're going to dive into that as well and take a closer look at that Memorial Day weekend forecast. So without further ado, let's start off things with our current temperatures, which again, unseasonably cool into the 50s right now. We're likely going to drop at least another handful of degrees, taking us in the 40s going into tomorrow morning on to a more of a chilly start. And again, certainly a cool into today. Take a look at all those locations, these climate sites where you see that's a record high. Now, obviously not record warm high, right? But records in terms of how cold it is. So these are the coldest high temperatures on record for May 22nd for New Philadelphia, Wheeling, Zanesville, Mansfield, tying it in Johnstown, all those locations setting new, if not tying, records of what was the coldest high temperature on record for May 22nd today for this afternoon. So certainly a testament to just how abnormal it is to deal with temperatures this cool going into the latter part of May. The old record Wheeling was 61. So not just beating it by a couple degrees, but by over a handful of degrees, surpassing that previous record of 61. Now the coldest high on record for May 22nd is 54 degrees. That was the high at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Austin joining us this evening on YouTube. Today was a gloomy, wet day. No doubt about that, Austin. We're going to have a nice Memorial Day weekend and what's the mowing forecast looks like this weekend. So we're going to jump into that here in just a minute. And we're going to be looking at if we can get some yard work done and maybe do some grilling for Memorial Day weekend. We'll jump into that forecast in just a minute. But absolutely, a gloomy, wet day and certainly a cool day. And again, with a little breeze in place, you may even set a little on the chilly side at times today with those temperatures for a lot of the day really hovering in the lower 50s. Now, rainfall amounts, we saw rain going throughout the majority of the day, but overall not piling up a whole lot in terms of rain for us. Most locations staying less than a half of an inch of total rainfall as we went throughout the day. Looking at where this brings us now to the month for the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 4.33 inches is where we stand at for the month. That is a well above normal of 2.84 inches of where we're typically at this point into the month of May. For the year, still running a little bit of a deficit, nothing crazy, but still looking at a deficit of 0.67 inches below that normal, which resides at 13.87 this time of the year. We're at 13.2. So not crazy deficit, but still trending below normal precipitation overall for the year, but this has certainly been a wet month. In fact, where we stand right now, obviously it's still not the end of the month. We've got more days to come and yes, some more rain chances to come. So there's good odds we're going to add to this total, at least some, but where it stands right now, we're already dealing with the most rainfall in the month of May since 2018. That's when we had 4.84 inches. So 4.33 so far for the month is most since 2018. We'll see if we don't get closer to what we had in 2018 here as we wrap up the month with at least a couple more rounds of rain likely going to be in sight. And of course, dealing with that current round of rain still continuing, although this is light. So obviously not going to add too much to the overall rainfall totals here with what remains throughout this evening and early on tonight, likely staying within that trace to a tenth of an inch. But nonetheless, still some light rain continues. And, this is a gradual process in terms of this tapering off. So as we broaden our view, you can still see more showers further towards the west, but the end is going to be in sight. And Futurecast illustrating that you'll notice the coverage continue to fall off, and eventually, likely after midnight tonight, then we're starting to see these showers just taper off altogether going into Friday morning. Now, notice as we go throughout the day Friday, especially in the afternoon, we can have some showers return. Now, obviously, tomorrow is going to be much drier with respect to today, right? There's actually dry times to be had going throughout the day Friday, and these showers are much more hit or miss. There's not a widespread rain moving back into the area for Friday. So overall, it's much drier, but again, we'll still watch for a few of these more hit or miss showers, primarily into the afternoon hours on Friday, then likely tapering off into the evening. And at this point, we'll dry up then for Friday night and likely stay dry as we go into the weekend. Notice as we extend throughout Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds, and even could get back to more mostly clear skies going into Sunday morning, mix of sun and clouds, then Sunday. And Futurecast, it's picking up on some stray showers. There's a slight chance, but just like what you just saw for Saturday and now extending into Sunday, mainly dry conditions, right? So it's a slight chance, maybe a passing shower or two during this 3-day stretch, but you get the idea that overall it's mainly dry. So certainly looking good for any outdoor plans you have for the Memorial Day weekend. It maybe have to dodge a light passing shower that's fairly brief, but certainly nothing to put a real damper on any outdoor plans. Mix of sun and clouds for Saturday into Sunday. We start off with some sunshine into Memorial Day morning, then an increase in cloud cover throughout the day. So more mostly cloudy likely as we wrap up Memorial Day. That increase in cloud cover is out ahead of the next round of more widespread rain that'll arrive into next Tuesday, even late Monday night. So that rain just holding off likely, Bo, for this 3-day holiday weekend. And our temperatures, as you can see, continue to climb up. We'll try to get to that 60-degree mark tomorrow. Some of us may hit it along south of I-70. I think a lot of us coming up just short, but we are trending a little warmer Friday. But by the weekend, we're into the 60s, even closer to 70 Sunday, and then likely around 70 degrees for Memorial Day on Monday. Joe, good evening to you. Thanks so much for tuning in, to all of you tuning in for this edition of Nate at 8. So our rain chances for this week, like I mentioned, mainly dry Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just that slight chance, not enough to throw in into the rain outlook, but a slight chance, maybe a stray shower altogether during that 3-day stretch. By Tuesday, then, though, it's likely that we're dealing with the rain, so it does quickly return early next week, even late Monday night. So by Tuesday morning's commute, likely going to be dealing with some rain returning. And then as we extend into the middle of next week, at least a few showers likely continue into next Wednesday as well, before rain chances will then start to drop off later next week, which is, as you can see in the high temperature trend, that's the reason why we're going to trend a little cooler into Tuesday. There's a little bit of a road bump in the overall warming trend the next 10 days, is that with a cloud cover and rain, we're likely trending cooler Tuesday, and then we'll start to bump back near 70 and then into this further in the 70s later next week. Once we start to see a little more sunshine, we start to see some drier conditions return later next week, and then the warming trend just likely continues onward then. And by the time we get into the end of the month, this is when temperatures will climb back near to above normal, and we're getting back to more seasonable values as we wrap up the month. And it does look like that first week in June, we could see temperatures not only well in the 70s, but maybe stringing together some 80-degree days. So if you don't like these real cool days, give it about another week, and then temperatures will start to climb up from there back to some more warm afternoons. And again, it does look like that warming trend that we see as we end the month, it can carry over for the start of June. We can deal with those temperatures looking even a bit warmer. So if you've been hoping for some warmer afternoons, got to hold off again in about another week. Then we'll start to see those temperatures climb up even more likely going into June. And Austin saying, how often do we see snow in May? We can certainly see it. We still got some lingering cold temperatures. Don't typically deal with much of it in the month of May, but yes, we can see some snowflakes fall into the month of May. That's for sure. We still have some of those lingering cold mornings, especially in cold nights, especially early on into May. So yes, it's not and nothing we see obviously typically, but yes, it can certainly happen. Carol says, great. Thanks. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in, Carol. Lola saying, off next week for stay home vacation. Glad the weather is looking drier and warmer. Want to get out and soak up that sunshine. And yeah, unfortunately, again, we'll see less of it going throughout Memorial Day on Monday as the day progresses. And a lot of cloud cover. Tuesday's not a good day, unfortunately, but once we get past that, we'll start to spot at least a little more sunshine returning later next week. Back to more of a mix of sun and clouds the following weekend. Unfortunately, I really don't see a sunny day looking ahead next week, but that's certainly warmer is what we'll be tracking. So certainly warmer, but unfortunately can't guarantee a lot of sunshine next week, Lola, but at least looking warmer ahead into next week. Sarah, good evening. It's cool in Cameron. It is cool out there, Sarah, no doubt about it. Getting on the chilly side by tomorrow morning with those lows falling back into the 40s. I've not known too many Memorial weekends without rain. Yeah, and we could very well get past it throughout this weekend. So I think, a stray shower is still possible, but overall mainly dry. So not too bad at all. I'd say a pleasant Memorial Day weekend ahead, and certainly going to be a lot better conditions for outdoor activities with respect to today. Really getting the rain out of the way, if you will, today into tomorrow. And then we'll notice some much drier conditions return for the weekend. And certainly even tomorrow is going to be much more pleasant with respect to today. Again, not extremely wet tomorrow, just a few showers back in the mix, primarily in the afternoon. And we'll spot a little more sunshine returning, those temperatures climbing further in the 50s. And then we're back even about 10 degrees warmer likely by Sunday with respect to what we're going to see for tomorrow. So temperatures will further pick up as the weekend does progress. Not too bad. We'll take it. Certainly we'll take it. It's nice to not see what we had for today repeat at any point into the Memorial Day weekend forecast. So certainly looking a lot better in that regard. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. It's been a pleasure. You can, of course, catch me coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11. And as always, you can join me for that next edition of Nate at 8 coming up tomorrow evening for your Friday edition of Nate at 8, the final call for that Memorial Day weekend forecast, as we'll further break down if we have spotted any maybe isolated showers, stray shower, give you an idea if there's a better idea timing of when we may spot that at any point through Memorial Day weekend. Of course, we'll give you the latest for that next edition of Nate at 8 coming up tomorrow evening around 8 o'clock for your Friday edition of that Nate at 8. Thanks so much for tuning in as always, and have a great night. And until then, I'll see you on the next edition of Nate at 8.